We are at the end of the Mississippi River, where it gets into the Bayou country in Louisiana. Plaquemines County. And it's just water as far as the eye can see. Two nutria. We've seen what I believe are storks. I've seen some of these big birds diving down, getting fish. We're about an hour south of pelican. Yeah, that is a pelican. Watch it. Watch it, watch it, watch it. Ah! Jake, watch this pelican. See? Watch this pelican up there. We're watching with my viewfinder. Can you see? There he goes, taking off. Now he's going to go up a little bit. He's going to turn, and down in the water he goes, getting the fish. Isn't that something? Now this is a beautiful place. We're going to go see if we can see some more new. I am standing in the Mississippi River in my brand new Ducks Unlimited waders near the mouth in the Bayou country of Louisiana, watching some of these tankers come up from the Gulf headed towards the port of New Orleans. It's about sunset on Sunday, January the 24th, 2010. Look at how much water this thing pushes ahead of it. I mean, that is amazing. That is a big Saw me a nutria a little while ago. Saw a live nutria and a dead nutria. Saw a pelican. Saw a lot of ducks. Saw some storks. You can see another boat already up there, going around a bend. I'm not sure, but what's that? Yeah, thought it was a lighthouse maybe, but I believe it's just a marker to tell people where to turn. This is Fort Jackson State Park in Louisiana. As you can see, hopefully, it's right on the Mississippi. It's going to be a little crooked here because my tripod's on uneven ground. The Formosa 11. Fort Jackson was important in the Civil War because this was obviously one of the big ports. And you remember Vicksburg, where we were earlier this week, I guess earlier last week now, was important to the Civil War. So was this, because this was how they got down to the Gulf. And I'm not sure whether this was where the Battle of New Orleans was, that, you know, 1814 took a little trip, yada yada yada. But it could be. And it was definitely named for Andrew Jackson, if nothing else. It's closed to the public, I mean permanently. It's not like we're here too late. For some reason you're never allowed to go in, which I find odd, although it does look a little rickety. It's a masonry fort, as you can see, and it's got let's see if you can see, yeah, right there behind those walls they've got trenches, but then they've got, you know, other stuff going on up there. Not a very big fort either. Very interesting. Then, over this way, down that way is where we just went to the end of the road in the Bayou country, saw the nutria. As you can see, there's a lot of wetlands type trees over here. If I can go down a little bit. I would love to see a gator. It looks like to me this is a breach in the walls of Fort Jackson. Perhaps caused by that tree, actually. Sure enough, that wasn't supposed to be there. Now we're in a cemetery in
Plaquemines Parish,
South Louisiana.
South Louisiana, if you will. Boudreaux.
Ooh, you can see in one, that's where people haven't been yet. No, this was... Oh, there's one. Nobody's at yet, or at least it looks like maybe it's been busted.
It's a pretty modern one.
I'll take some pictures.
Turn around.
Right over there, over that levee, is the Bayou country. Some lake, wetlands, something or other. And right over here, beyond those trees, is the Mississippi River. We're right in the middle of it. Right there. We are driving across Lake Pontchartrain on the causeway. New Orleans Metairie over there. This was what got part of its road washed away during Hurricane Katrina. So hopefully they fixed it. Or else we're going to be stuck out here for a while. We're here on a walkway in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the walkway just out into the Mississippi. And that's the bridge over the Mississippi. I guess that's no. This isn't anything.
No.
That's just more Louisiana over there. But you can see, hopefully, you can see just how far the river is. Beautiful night, January the 24th, 2010, big river. And this is the night that the New Orleans team went to the Super Bowl by beating the Vikings. So we were glad to get out of New Orleans and get to Baton Rouge before the traffic. But this walkway juts right out into the Mississippi. So if we fell over, we'd be in pretty deep. And it'd be pretty cold, I believe. It would. This is the riverfront Baton Rouge. Right there you can see the old state capitol. Looks like a castle. Over here we haven't been there yet. New state capitol. That's where Huey P. Long was assassinated. Where Bobby Jindal currently does his governing when he does. see this thing out in the water. Jacob would not allow me to climb on this, he said.
Corner of North and 7th. Friday afternoon. 4. It's fine. April 12th, 1983. Jacob Trimble. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. 4 o'clock on Friday.
Christ is your personal Savior. He came into your life. Listen, to do what? To indwell you, seal you.
What are those, pines or something out there?
Palm trees.
Baby palm.
Little baby palm trees.
1-year-old father in prayer. He suffered a heart attack which affected his kidneys as well, and he is not expected to live. Lift up a lady in prayer who is home recovering from surgery, but is experiencing intestinal tract problems. Please pray that an elderly couple will be blessed with an honest and reasonable plumber to make some simple household repairs. Please pray for a pastor who has some anger and control issues. A lady was in a car accident. She was rear-ended. She's having some back pain and severe headaches. Please pray for a brother to be healed of a head cold. A son's marriage is in serious trouble. Please pray. A grandson has been diagnosed with melanoma and will soon undergo surgery. A man is asking for prayer for healing of mental and physical problems. Please pray for a son who is experiencing dizziness. Pray for a lady's healing and recovery from back surgery. Pick up a friend in prayer who's going through a period of great stress. Pray for a nephew's healing of a bad cold, cough, and runny nose. A brother has a degenerated disc in his neck that is causing him great pain. Pray for his healing and pray that he will be able to return to work. Please pray for a mother who will soon have a pacemaker implant. pray that a single father will have faith, a clean heart, and a steadfast spirit. The prayer is requested for a husband who is legally blind and is also in need of hearing aids. Pray for him.
We are just north of Alexandria, Louisiana, about 100 miles to Shreveport. We stopped to get gas at a place covered with dust. Looks like all there is in this town is a railroad and this. Still Magnolia. We are in historic Natchitoches, Louisiana, which I believe is where Steel Magnolias was set. And I did not realize that or remember it until we got here. But now I believe that to be true. Park for a second. Just park right here. This is Church Street. It is. Just have to put it in park. Still in Natchitoches, we're pretty sure this is the cemetery where Shelby was buried in Steel Magnolias.
God.
What? Just stop. I can't read the name on this, but whoever it is died. It looks like P.F. Kimball or P.P. Kimball died in Louisville, Kentucky, January 28th, 1850, before the Civil War. I think right here was about the place where Sally Field had her breakdown in the Steel Magnolia movie.
Or you can get hit by a car.
Here we're on Louisiana 486, driving from Natchitoches.
Campty.
And then we're going to get on 480. And we are going to head to Coushatta, home of David Hanna, former home of Billy Burge. A lot of cattle around here.
Good God, sweetheart. It's 40, not 25.
We're now on Louisiana 480, going from Campty to Coushatta. You can look out there and see some swampy territory. Here is the source of quite a bit of stink on our drive, a pulpwood factory. Just look at all those piles and piles of wood.
It was high, it was just generally much higher than here. It's not like every road you went was an incline or a decline.
Here we are in Coushatta, Louisiana, home of David and Wanda Hanna, former home of Billy Burge, source of many good stories over the years.
First United Methodist.
Now take a left and go out and see the courthouse. Here's the First Baptist Church, Coushatta, Louisiana. I think that's the one David Hanna pastors. If it is not, we are not going to see it because that's all we know. We are on our way to Shreveport. Oh, wow. This is either the Red River or the Cane River, or perhaps both. We are in Hope, Arkansas at the boyhood home, the birthplace, the first home of President Bill Clinton. This is right on the main drag in Hope. There's a Sonic down there that I'm sure was not there when Bill was there. He grew up right by the railroad tracks. That's the train track right there. And I have a feeling that's the old railroad depot. And there it is.
Yeah, I thanked him for the stand that he took, and I didn't. It didn't make it very long because with this, and I don't know how widespread this is, but from all accounts, it's pretty widespread. We see this, and I mean, we've been exposing this for several years. This seeker sensitive thing, and just you know, the old worldly song years ago, "If it feels good, do it." It's basically it's in the church now, and it's really sad. And then we look around and we see what's happening in our nation. And we've said this many times here and from the pulpit, Brother Swagger, Donnie, and everyone, that the church is going to come back to the church. The church is allowing this to happen in the church, so it's come in from the world system, infiltrated it, and they're embracing it, and that's really sad, and it's scary because God's not going to tolerate it. He's holy. He's not going to tolerate it.
But is this what, I mean, do parents that are born again, is that what they want their young people involved in? Do you think they don't know? If they don't, they should know.
They should know, absolutely, they should know. And absolutely it's their responsibility to know. And if they don't, then they're accountable. What's your child involved in wherever they're at? If they're, and especially at the church. I mean, but I know how parents are. You know, they say, well, the pastor's there and the youth pastor, and it's a Christian church, and they trust them. Well, those days are over with in America. That's sad. Those days are over. Right. You can't trust anyone with your family or your soul. You have to seek the Lord and get His word, and just because it's just sad that it's that way.
Okay, let's go to another one, another email that I have received all about the same time. You know, we had Pastor DeBryan.
These folks are
on,
talking about the dancing
and I received
that took place in an Assembly of God church to Beyonce put the ring on the finger and somebody called Floor Rider. And this is what has infiltrated the church, the Beyonce and the Floor Rider. And it is despicable, filthy stuff. And it has infiltrated the church.
Radical days. And I was quite intrigued by today's program concerning the book, The Shack. I have been aware of it, but I dismissed it as a bunch of metaphysical, New Age horse manure. After all, I had heard that Oprah had endorsed it, and since she seems to be some sort of self-entitled queen of the New Age, I didn't pay much attention to her endorsements. What caught my attention was the author, Paul Young. Well, you see, I know him. He was the young adult singles pastor at a church that I attended in the late 70s and early 80s in Oregon. He's not there anymore, and he hasn't attended there since the early 80s. But anyway, I want to share with you some of his background. As your guest, Pastor DeBryan, said, Paul is the son of a missionary who had ministered in Louisiana.
I should say that this stuff probably runs the risk of being libelous.
Paul's family is from Canada. And after they returned from the mission field, the family resettled in the United States. And Paul somehow ended up, and they give the name of the church. The church was experiencing some dynamic spiritual and personal growth. Paul had learned Greek along the way, and I suppose was somewhat of a scholar. The pastor's wife, who was leading the young adult group, recognized this as an asset, and I guess promoted Paul into a leadership role of this group. Before Paul's arrival, there was another leader who, with his wife, led the group. Anyway, Paul quickly established himself as a leader. At first, his teachings were very deep and profound. I was taught to view the Bible as a whole continuous book. Yes, inspired by God and as the Word of God. Everything in Scripture as taught by Paul was to be examined and read in context. Okay, so far so good. With Paul's knowledge of Greek, our lessons were deep and thoughtful. And I seem to remember that the church sent Paul to a local Baptist seminary to continue his study in the Greek. Well, as the months went by, Paul's teachings became, I guess, the right word would be radical, perhaps provocative. He began to teach us that the Bible was not meant to be taken literally. I was a new Christian, so my knowledge of the Word was somewhat limited. Years later, I realized that Paul was teaching somewhat of an Augustinian view of the Bible. Anyway, this opened up a very curious path. He then began to embark on a very weird teaching on the book of Revelation. He said that the current view, I guess one would refer to it as the premillennial view, was a heretical view. I don't remember a lot of the specifics.
Heretical.
I started working Friday nights, which was when the group met. But something was amiss in my spirit. I know there are a lot of different views in how when the rapture occurs and the tribulation, but most views agree that the church will be raptured and the tribulation will happen. His views on this began to influence the pastor and his wife. And soon Paul's teachings began to sweep and influence the church. Some of the elders caught wind of this, and as one can imagine, became gravely concerned. And I'm not sure what exactly happened, but Paul's teachings ran afoul with the elders, and they voted him out despite the pastor's support of Paul. And then I moved into Portland, and I attended a Baptist church there near my new residence. And I lost contact with Paul. But some of my friends who were supporters of Paul, in a sense, followed. And Paul started his own house ministry. I visited his house church once and listened to his teachings. I don't remember what was taught that day, but I do remember having an uneasy feeling about it. He was now on his own, free to teach whatever he felt was right without the oversight of a church. He was now accountable to no elders or pastors. And while this can sometimes be a good thing, especially if the local church has fallen into heresy or apostasy or Christianity, it's illegal. I had some serious reservations about the direction.
Here we are in the Clinton Library in Little Rock, Arkansas, right on the Arkansas River. There's one bridge over there. It looks like an old railroad bridge that you can't get across. And it's a pretty neat place. This is the Oval Office replica room over here.
This is painting by child.
In a basement room called the pit. because you had to go down like 3 levels.
Here we are at the Little Rock Central High School, where Maggie, I didn't realize Maggie attended here. And of course it's very recognizable to anybody paying attention anytime in the last 60 years or so.
Place right there, it says Smith, L, next to Adcock.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, it's my stepmom's.
This is really